Welcome, everyone. This is the first match of the semifinals. Our very first finalist will be determined today. We'll see if it's another Terran player or if we'll have our very first ever StarLeague Zerg finalist.
Man, that would be exciting to see. ByuL, he's the Zerg hope here today at least.
Yeah.
And, man, he's got quite a match ahead of him. Obviously going to be up against Mech, of all things, which is kind of coming to power recently. If we have a look at the maps really quick here.
Yeah.
Echo, Expedition Lost, Cactus Valley, Funny, Iron Fortress, then Terraform.
Take a screenshot, write those down.
Yeah, they're going to disappear quickly. And thing to note, the last few maps there, or last couple out of those three, are really good for Mech. So I'm sure ByuL's going to try and get like a 4-0, 4-1, try and avoid those kind of maps.
Sure. And keep in mind, this is, of course, as you guys could tell for sure by now, a best of 7, so it's a longer series. There's definitely a lot of fatigue that can come into a series like this. And, you know, keep in mind that those last maps are good for Mech. And even though we're seeing almost purely Mech out of every Terran in the world in this matchup, because it's a best of 7, we might see TY mix in a few bio timings just to kind of keep things fresh.
He might try, but ByuL is also like world-class against the bio style of Terran. Yeah. So I really feel like it's going to come down to TY. He's been practicing Mech, let's face it. He's been doing it recently. He did it against Rogue. He defeated Rogue recently. And ByuL had a very hard time against Innovation, and kind of arguably, Innovation kind of killed himself in that very last game, not upgrading armor on his Mech.
If it hadn't been that way, you know, had he gotten the +3 armor and had he played a more standard game, we'd actually be having a TVT with TY and Innovation right now. I mean, it was that close. It was that final game, game number 5.
Yeah, exactly. So today, it's going to be another hard match for him. I'm not sure if TY's Mech is on the same level as Innovation's.
Sure.
Innovation has had a lot more success with it recently.
I would say TY's Mech is almost tempo-based. He likes to do harassment into Mech. He's not one of those players just going to take a fast third CC and then go into the Mech. He's going to try to do damage first and then transition into Mech from early damage.
Yeah, I agree with that. As well as the fact, you got to think about like who is his practice partner, who is his young. It is Flash.
Yeah.
Flash loves his Mech. He's always done his Mech. But Flash is also another player that's kind of struggling to use it at the same level as, for instance, Gumiho or Innovation.
Yeah, I think those two players are probably the best meching players in the world. You know, I think probably most people are familiar with Innovation's Mech, but if you look at Gumiho's play in the round of 16 of the GSL recently, where he got out in first place, it looks incredible. It might even be as strong as Innovation's right now.
Yeah, well, it's certainly original enough, right? Like, he's got his own ideas about it.
Sure.
And, you know, TY's always got his own idea about his games as well. So it's going to be really interesting to see what he's got planned for this best of 7. He's had a lot of time to prepare for it. And he's got a lot of games that he can watch of ByuL against Mech as well.
Yeah, he really does. Looking at those Innovation series, he's got a lot to study, whereas ByuL, on the other hand, only 3 recent games from TY really to look at in this matchup. And one of the games he just defended an all-in against Rogue. The other 2 was just all about the harassment that TY did in the early game. So much easier preparation-wise here for TY going into this one. Our very first map is going to be Coda, a 2-player map where a very high chance we'll be seeing Mech.
Yeah, I certainly think we might. Not a bad map for Mech at all. Easy to get 4 bases. Easy to split the map in half. We'll see what ByuL, how he's going to deal with it. He struggled hard last time.
Let's see what he can do this time. Let's go into game number 1. Spread the word, everyone. This is the StarLeague Season 3 Semifinals match number 1.
시즌 3 4강 1경기
Up here in the top left, the underdog in this series, it's TY.
Let the drums of war begin once again, Wolf. Down here in the bottom right, the Zerg player, he is ByuL.
Recent GSL finalist, as well as, you know, making it to the round of 8 last season of StarLeague, where he met Classic and was defeated. Classic going on, of course, to win the finals.
Yep. ByuL certainly has had a lot more success than TY in this year alone. Very experienced player. Not a stranger to this kind of situation. I believe this is one of the first times TY's really made it this far in the Star League.
Yeah, he hasn't made it this far since like the old MSLs. He was talking to one of our Korean commentators. I guess the best way to describe him is the guy who looks a bit grumpy sometimes. I mean, that's just the best way I describe him. But he, the guy with the giant glasses, is an ex-NBC game commentator who used to commentate the MSL. He was talking to TY before, almost giving him a bit of coaching because TY did come here today alone. This guy says he favors ByuL. I can say ByuL will win in God's word, man. He's even got a cross there. Big We Made Fox fan.
Damn.
Of course, TY, an ex-We Made Fox pro from back in the day. Using the ID Baby back then.
I remember those days. I remember watching him on GSL back when he was playing Brood War. Could not believe how young he looked.
He started at age 10 in Korean age, so
Damn.
age 8, I believe, was his first year as a pro gamer where he had a pro gaming license.
Age 8?
From elementary school.
He must have really been a talented player, man, to be that young.
His micro was incredible. His Wraith micro is probably what he was most famous for in the TVZ matchup. We went for the ID Baby for good reason. We did have a pool first here for ByuL.
Yeah, he played it pretty safe to start things off here, and it's going to come back to bite him considering what TY did with that command center first. So kind of expected from TY as well. You know, he's always the kind of player to go for that CC first. He's always doing similar sort of build orders that Flash likes to do, as it is his big brother in the house. Like, it's where he gets his inspiration from, I'm sure.
Absolutely, a lot of similarities in their play. This wall isn't tight up at the top of the ramp, so this is somewhat of a concern. He doesn't know about how many lings are on the map at this moment in time.
Yeah,
he can actually get into the main here. Easy.
Okay, well, there you go. This is why he went for that pool first, after all. Investing in so many lings is going to create a lot of havoc early on.
Yeah. You know, he easily could have walled that with an SCV, but a bit of a slow reaction. Playing Ring Around the Rosie here with the SCVs will finally lose that Marine, which gives those lings a lot more flexibility to continue to harass and scout here.
Yeah, a lot of time, actually. It's going to cost a lot of mining time for at least half of these SCVs.
Yeah, and he sees the second gas as well. Good control here by TY, though. Not losing a single SCV yet in this exchange. Only losing that Marine.
Yeah, those lings are getting mighty low. And here we go. A couple are going to go down by the looks of things.
Yeah, he's finally started to whittle those down. Wow, only losing 2 SCVs in this entire engage. 3, I take it back. Yeah, still, minimal damage.
Yeah, not too much damage at all. I'm on the fence if it was actually worth going for that pool first and investing in 6 lings like that to get 3 SCVs. I guess it caused a lot of mining time disruption, and you got to see the build order completely. So, all in all, it's a pretty good start. Certainly shows TY that ByuL has done his homework, and he knows what his preference is on a lot of these maps.
Absolutely. And there's not even that many recent maps to study, so you probably have to go looking back at the old ages. Maybe even studying some of Flash's games and talking to some teammates who've hit TY on the ladder. We talked about this a lot in the Pro League, end of regular season, the last week of Pro League, but it's a lot easier to identify barcode players now because there's a lot of tools out there for Koreans to use, so you're no longer really hidden when you play on the ladder, so people can tell you what you're doing.
Going to take a chance here, going to go for that run by 3 Hellions, enough to one-shot. This could be a big problem here.
Yeah, already 3 drones going down, and it's not going to stop there. He's killing a few lings as well. And this is what TY likes to do. He likes to get ahead from this harassment and then lead that into his mech. 7 drones, I'd say pretty worth it.
Yeah, that is actually certainly a big turnaround here, and could possibly do a little bit more. At least it's forced out some lings. And he did actually get a good scout off of ByuL as well, so he knows it's going to be that 2 base meter opening beyond that. And
ByuL heavily supply blocked actually with 3 overlords, 4 overlords on the way with that Viking getting a kill. We'll find a second one here. He'll have enough overlords by that time, but still a lot of disruption of production here by TY.
And a very important overseer there. If he can actually get a good scout off of the rest of the base there, maybe try and catch additional factories on the way, see exactly what's being invested into.
Yeah, so there's going to be 2 base Spire. Now, he already sees the 3rd CC with that Ling. It was at the front, and the timing of these factories lines up perfectly with the overseer coming in. He's going to see both of them right away.
Yeah, that is perfect. He knows exactly what he's up against from here, but it's like, you still lost a lot of momentum by losing these overlords, by losing those 7 drones. It's like, can you still get that economic lead you need before TY really comes online? Can you get enough Mulisks out to create a harassment and create a containment before like that 3rd and 4th base get online for TY as well?
Yeah, he's going to have probably 2 Thors on the way right away because he's going to scout that the 3rd base is so late with that Viking. So with this, he should be able to defend appropriately. Doesn't have an eBay yet as far as I know. but Thors will be able to ward off a small amount of Mutalisks. Roachborn, of course, to follow this up as he now knows what he's up against exactly.
Yeah, he's going to maybe... We'll see if he wants to invest in perhaps a Roach switch and do a big attack after the Mutas opens up and force out a lot of anti-air and turrets and maybe even additional Vikings, like things that are just going to be so useless against the Roach timing.
Yeah. Now here's the first Thor, the second one likely to fall at 300 minerals, and an eBay coming down as well. So all the correct responses for now. He is getting the +1 carapace for flyers as well for those Mutalisks to make them a little bit tankier against Thor shots.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea. And, I mean, it's going to help out against Vikings as well, right? They're going to be doing multiple shots.
Yeah, exactly.
So
I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense there. I do like that. It's something we don't see very often. The creep spread's looking pretty healthy. A lot of active tumors on the map with those additional queens. And that's going to be a very important part to play in the late game because we've seen ByuL, what he likes to do in that late game, and it is a lot of Ultralisk style.
Yeah. Ultras, Hydras as well, into the Ultras. And, of course, we don't want those Vipers later on, but a lot of patience, usually in the earlier parts of a series for ByuL, but sometimes as the series gets later versus Mech, he does show some frustration. Let's see if that happens today.
Yeah, he made some very questionable engagements in his match against Innovation. I remember some pretty off-putting attacks that just didn't get the job done and was kind of like throwaway games.
We're going to see a double Thor drop. This is becoming more popular. We saw even Gumiho using this just recently. And just going to have to lift this up. We saw Keen do this as well in the late game. But you can actually kill a hatchery so fast. The single target damage output of a Thor is insane, ground to ground. So you could kill a hatchery that's halfway built so fast, even with some Hellion support.
Yeah. You know, that's not a bad idea. If only he knew that fourth base was bottom left, he would probably DPS that down in a second.
Yeah, easily.
Hellbats plus those two Thors. Very fortunate for ByuL there. And another thing to note that we haven't touched on is that he skipped Mutas completely in this opening here, just going straight into the Roaches. Maybe he was looking to cash him out, or maybe he's just playing defensively for that late game.
Yeah. I feel like TY's kind of realized this as well. He's now scattering around with his Vikings. He's going to see some Roaches. He saw a few Roaches earlier with his drop. The cool thing about that Thor drop is you can sometimes intercept Mutas on the way, too, if you just drop those Thors out, a small amount of Mutas. And with this few Roaches here, he's going to force some SCVs off the line, but he's definitely not going to find a ton of damage. Probably wants to just escape with these as best he can.
Yeah, looks like it. I mean, he gets away with them all as well, but here we go. Here comes the Hellbat drops. 4
Hellbats in these drops. Just trying to drop on top of those drones. Unfortunately, not finding much damage. Oh! An opportunity missed.
Yeah, that could have been huge. Still got a lot of room to play with there.
He could go for it. Yeah, look at this.
Oh, man.
You should probably just drop 1 on one side and the other 2 on the other side, and then kind of trap them, but it's pushed away. But a lot of lost mining time regardless.
17 Mutalisks now on the way, so a big switch. I wonder if it's kind of to react to the drops, or he's going to actually try and maybe get into the main base and go for a lot of damage in production.
It's a good question. 14 of them are already out. A little bit more damage being done here, but not a ton of kills.
Looks like he is going to go straight for that main base. Not many turrets at all.
And those 2 Thors are at the third base, so it's going to take some time. I don't think he has any medevacs to boost them over either. He's actually going to do a ton of damage with this attack. There's just no answer whatsoever. 3 Thors about to pop out, but they're not ready yet. Yep. So this could be disastrous. Needs to send those Thors up into the main.
Yeah. Well, it's only 2 Thors as well, so they can be Magic Boxed in a big way. If he can take control of the main, stop those factories from building units, he'd be in such a good place. But look at this.
Another Thor pops out, and the Vikings help zone, and there's a turret there as well. He might lose every single Muta here if he's not careful. Meanwhile, Blue Flame is finished, and more drones going down, 23 in total. And this is starting to look good for TY real fast. Things were looking really dicey there for a moment, but that harass plus those, popping out Thors really brought him back into this game.
I think those Mutas were a little too clumped as well when they started to engage those Thors, so they took some really big damage there. So a little bit of a mistake in terms of microing, I guess, his Mutas, but he was taking so much drone damage at home, it does make sense.
Yeah. Looks like he might lose that refinery, that 6th one, at the third base. If TY doesn't repair it, it's going to cost him some gas, but he'll be able to replenish that. The Roaches did kind of trade into that.
He's got his mech pretty much fully online at this point. There's the full production, 5 factories, double upgrades. Everything's going fine for him so far. Hang on, let me just double check. That's double upgrades there before I get carried away. Adding very late second armory.
Yeah, very late second armory. He does have +2 on the way.
That could have been a big mistake. It's like doing another innovation there, like to only attack No plating armor. That'd be a huge mistake.
Plating is so important, especially for late game on those BCs. They
Oh,
already
yeah.
have so much armor in themselves. More and more damage being found here with these Blue Flame Hellions, and I feel like one of the biggest criticisms most people would have of Korean Zerg players versus Mech is their lack of defense versus Hellion run-bys.
Static defense, man.
Yeah, we're seeing this happen time and time again.
It's very overlooked here. And
look at how much TY is committed to defense. He's not going to take any damage.
He's lucky he didn't have +2 attack finished either, because only 2 Hellions would be needed to start one-shotting drones with those shots. So it's going to get out of hand if this keeps going. I mean, even look at the supply lead right now for TY. He's got big momentum behind him.
He's really just kind of cranking out these turrets and keeping a Thor or 2 back at home. Getting a sensor tower up as well. This CC in a somewhat vulnerable spot, but Thor's coming over to save the day. And ByuL just needs to kind of, I'd say, continue to try to harass, but more so turtle at home and get that bank up.
Oh man, got to be so careful. Yeah, I agree with you there. I'm kind of surprised his Hive is so late, considering he knew what he was up against so early on. He really went for some big damage with that muta switch. Didn't really find it, and since then he's been playing catch-up once again.
This is a very heavy Thor composition as well. There's very few siege tanks on the map, so it's tough to actually make Roach Hydra work this late in the game without Vipers, even if there's very few tanks, because Thors do a ton of damage. They've got a lot of range, and you're always going to have a favorable defensive position up on top of a high ground. He's got 6 tanks and 7 Thors, so way more Thor, comp than you would normally see.
I kind of like it too, though, because he knows that ByuL is going to be looking to go into Ultras. So, perfect counter to Ultras. There's a lot of Thors.
11 more drones go down. And of course, ByuL was at 95, so can afford to lose some drones, but still, I mean, TY is not just turtling. He's finding so much. And look at that. Killed an entire larva line as well.
Yeah, that's important too.
He might get a second one here if he actually gets this in.
If he's looking for it. Doesn't look like he's paying attention there. He saw the damage, though, forcing entire drone line off on that third base.
He's even sending a small group of tanks and Hellions across the map to clear up this creep, but now the Thor is coming to support.
Ooh, 23 more mutas on the way. I feel like this is a huge mistake from ByuL.
It's a huge misread of composition. There are also Ravens coming out here as well.
Yeah, this is actually no reason to be making mutas at this point in the game. You want Roaches, you want Hydras, anything but Mutalisks.
Yeah. Roach Hydra Viper, I think is like the best thing he could try to build here. A few SCVs coming out as well. TY is showing us a much more aggressive version of this style than we normally see players like Innovation doing. He's just walking across the map.
More like Gumiho sort of style, where you find a timing like this. Look at that. Look at that. He's going to have to magic box like a god.
And also there's so much energy on these Ravens. They're not even being used here. It was a bit of a disappointment. But there comes some secret missiles down onto a Viper.
Just not enough here. He made the wrong army for this composition. And that's one of the biggest things, Zerg against Mech. You've got to make sure you're making the right army.
Yep. GG. TY takes a lead. And you know what? I would say TY is a big underdog going into the series, but if you're playing a game like that as ByuL and seeing how tilted he was in the round of 8 versus Innovation, I worry about his mindset after a loss like that.
Yeah. We did see him struggle hard against Innovation. He really made some bad choices in that best of 5, and I mean, that game, that was the bad choices, going into mutas again. He knew exactly what he was dealing with. He decided to take on 9 Thors and 9 Vikings with, 30 mutalisks. It's not going to happen at that point of the game.
Yeah.